Everybody, it's August 31st, the last day of Garbaugust. And of course, I kind of snoozed on it again. I don't know if you can, okay, well, life update first. I don't know if you can see, but I am absolutely covered in a rash. So, long story short, so last year when I went in the hospital, they put me on blood thinners, and then I started wrapping my leg, as you're supposed to. And they said, if you feel like it's cutting off circulation or something, just take the wrappings off. So I took the wrappings off, promptly figured out I had a blood clot in my leg. So my doctor put me on blood thinners, and about every 2 weeks or so, I've had to go and get blood work and make sure that my blood's running the way it's supposed to be running. And so that went on for almost a year. And a couple months ago, I went to the hematologist just to kind of get checked out and see what's going on. And she said that I can stop the blood thinners if I want, because normally for a small blood clot like that, they just put them on for 3 months, or 45 to 90 days was the time frame. They don't usually keep you on for a whole year. And because I haven't been able to afford even the dispensing fees to pick up my meds, I went, okay, go off them. So of course, promptly I got another blood clot in my leg. And I said, yeah, I have this feeling, there's a very distinctive feeling. There's a small lump, and then when you run your hand along it, you can actually feel the vein. And it's like when you put a golf ball in a garden hose, okay? And, or you block up a garden hose by, folding it in half, and you can actually feel the pressure from the water that's trying to come through, right? So you feel your vein. It's like thick, and you can just feel the pressure's backing up. And it can actually be quite painful, depending on where it is and how big it is. The first time I had it, oh man, it hurt like a bastard. So anyway, so she said, well, yeah, you got to go and get an ultrasound right now. I was like, oh, and I kind of whined and moaned and said, okay. So I finally, the next day I got to the vascular clinic, and they checked it out, and it's not just a blood clot. It's more than, I think she said it was more, I can't remember if it was more than 2.5 centimeters or more than 5 centimeters. It was a big sucker anyway. It was still shallow, but it was not small. So then she prescribed me medication. There were two options. There was the option that I don't have to keep going for blood work, and that was $83 I didn't have. Or I can get back on the warfarin, which I've been taking all along. But in order to do this, I have to get on these injectables, and the injectables are $950, which I don't have. And the hospital said that they could give me like a one-time thing for, but they had to arrange it. And I was like, okay. So I went to the hospital, and they said, well, we can only give you this much, which is about 2 days worth. But if you want the rest of it, it's $400. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? So, it was this big, long saga. And in the meantime, I'm trying to get onto welfare, because I can get medication covered if I'm on welfare. And welfare dicked me around for an entire month. So I was like, nothing, no money, nothing for a month, or for 2 months actually, because my unemployment ran out in June, and I've just been broke with this ticking time bomb in my leg for the entire time, no less. So the other night I went, and my doctor said, yeah, you got to get that looked at. And we finally got the meds sorted out, and I got started on blood thinners. But he says, yeah, he sent me to get a CT scan, an emergency CT scan. It's not really an emergency. I think I'm fine, but I had kind of an episode last week, so maybe I'm not that fine. So the long and short of it is they found a blood clot in my lung now. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another, right? When it's not raining, it's freaking pouring. So the doctor says, look, I mean, given that you had, and what I mean by episode is last year when I went in the hospital, the reason I went was I got this horrible chill. And I was shaking really badly. All my muscles were like tensing and releasing, and I was moving really strangely. My face was gray, my lips were purple. And when I went to the hospital, they said that I'd gone into right side heart failure because the lymphedema in my leg had backed up the fluids in my body so that it couldn't process anything. It just went into heart failure. So, like, I guess almost 2 weeks ago now, I had similar symptoms where I just had this, I was so cold, I just could not get warm. My teeth were chattering, and it's like 18 degrees Celsius out, which is like 70 or something, almost 70 Fahrenheit. So it's not cold out at all in the least. And I told the doctor that, yeah, I had this episode, but my lips weren't discolored, so I didn't go. I just kind of put the covers over my head and went to sleep, and when I woke up, I was okay again. My doctor's like, you gotta go to the hospital. And I said, I can't. I'm needed here. We've got a lot of things that we gotta do in the next few days. Just give me a week. And he's like, okay, but you're gonna get a CT scan. So they found a blood clot in my lung. So, yeah, and then on top of everything else, I had a reaction to the dye, which is where I was going with this story, and you can see I'm just covered in a rash. I've been scratching my back against the seat, like blue. It's all up my arms, my legs. I'm just covered in this rash. I think it's even in my hair, and it's driving me absolutely crazy. If there is a hell, I swear it's itchy. It's not cold, it's not hot, it's freaking itchy. So anyways, speaking of hell, this week's Garbaugust assignment was post-apocalyptic fiction, apocalyptic trash. And I did not finish this one because it was not very good. But the story I picked was called, and there's 5 of them in the series, The Last Woman Standing, a post-apocalyptic military reverse harem romance. The Soldiers Reverse Harem. The Soldiers Reverse Harem is the series. And listen to this blurb. This is just so melodramatic. The world burned, and from its ashes rose a queen, forged by war, claimed by monsters, and feared by all. Elle Bishop was never meant to survive. Once a fugitive in the wasteland, she became the unlikeliest symbol of strength in a shattered civilization. Hunted, broken, and nearly consumed by the chaos, she found safety, and something far more dangerous, in the arms of 4 deadly ex-soldiers: Damien, the ruthless strategist; Caleb, the silent tactician; West, the reckless firestorm; and Logan, the emotionless blade. Together they do more than fight to survive. They build, they burn, they conquer. But power has a price. And in a world where love is rare, loyalty is lethal, and peace is a lie, Elle must decide what kind of queen she will be: savior, tyrant, or legend. With primal passion, brutal battles, and bonds forged in blood, The Last Woman Standing is a raw, addictive, slow-burn reverse harem saga of war, desire, and the cost of rising from the ashes. Yeah, it's got all the perfect elements for Garbaugust. It's ridiculous, it's trashy, it's overwrought, but unfortunately it doesn't deliver in terms of story. And so I picked it because it was only 140 pages. And if you check the thumbnail, there's a picture of the clearly AI generated cover. And it's this scantily clad woman with her shirtless men behind her. It's pretty hilarious. So what I read of it is there's this woman, and she's kind of wandering through the rubble, and it's not really clear what happened. I don't know if it was like nuclear war or just a bunch of wars together. Excuse me, my nose is dripping. But the world has just been devastated. And she comes across an encampment of guys, and they're like, "Ooh, it's a woman. We haven't seen women in a long time." I'm paraphrasing. And she's like, "Yeah, what do you want to make of it?" And they keep doing this, and they're like, "Well, you're free to go. You're not a prisoner here." So she tries to leave, and then they chase her and they drag her back. And they've done this 3 or 4 times now, and I'm about 25% of the way through, but not that much has actually happened other than her going, "Yeah, what do you want to make of it?" And them kind of going, "Ha ha," and chasing her around. Oh, and she kissed one of them. I don't know. On the plus side, though, she is an ex-military person, so she's actually been trained to fight, and she's 35, not 16, so double wide bonus thumbs up for that. Because I think the Teenagers Save the World YA dystopian fiction is kind of ridiculous. Especially because, this woman was trained to fight through her military background. She didn't just, pick up a bow and arrow and somehow magically know how to use it, the way some apocalyptic heroines do. So, yeah, I may or may not finish it. I don't know. I haven't finished it so far. I'm only about 25% of the way through. And, yeah, that's about it. So I did get through, so for Garbaugust, I got through Vendetta, Lucky's Revenge, which was pretty good. And I got through a couple of the novellas that I reviewed last week, both named Kaylee's Web, or Callie's Web, I should say. And one was good, and the other was AI generated and not particularly good. Had kind of a neat cover, though. And yeah, that's all I really managed to get through this month, but I did get a little bit of reading done. So September. Now, apparently September is known as Vamptember, and a lot of people read vampire books. I may try to pick something up. I don't know for sure. But September is also Latinx History Month, and I had started Signal to Noise by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. It is actually a very enjoyable book. I just have a lot going on, so I kind of lost track of it, but I think I will probably try to finish that one, give you a review of it. It's about a bunch of kids, 3 high school students in 1980s Mexico City who discover that through music they sort of have, I wouldn't call it exactly magical powers, but interesting things happen. So they believe it's Bruja, but there might be a rational explanation. It could just be luck and coincidence and whatever, right? But it's still pretty cool. And, and it does kind of play around with the idea, does belief make something real? And the other half of it is that the main character it's also 20 years later, and the main character has returned to Mexico City from living abroad, and I believe she said she was living in Norway for her father's funeral and burial. Her father's just passed away, and she has to kind of deal with all of his his artifacts, which is what happens when your parents pass. You have to kind of come and sort through all their stuff, and she's sort of running into her friends from that time, and it's clear they had some kind of falling out, but I'm only about a third of the way through, so I don't know what happened yet. So it's a really good read so far. The characters are really engaging, and the premise that pop music from the 80s somehow has magical powers is a pretty cool idea. So I don't know if you remember the pop music from the 80s. It certainly had some holding power, if nothing else. So I'll probably try to get through that for September. And September is going to be really busy. I might have a job. Keep your fingers crossed for me. Wish me luck that it'll work out, because there's a lot of stuff I have to do to get set up for that. Yeah, get out of here, fly. Sorry, there's flies flying around in here. Yeah, and that's about all I have planned for the next little while. I gotta take care of my health and get caught up on Signal to Noise, and other than that, and I learned a really interesting thing about Signal to Noise. It's probably one of the reasons that I get so little done, is that I'm mostly noise, not signal. I was watching this little video about Steve Jobs, and he was a dick. But the reason he was such a dick was that he was very heavily focused on what he was doing. And there's noise, which is there's signal, which is the important parts of your brain you have to pay attention to, and then everything else is noise. It's what interferes with that. and it's an audio term as well. You want as much signal and as little noise as possible, because that's that crackling and that distortion, and a little bit's okay. Lots of really interesting music has been made with noise, but you want as much signal as possible. And so he was about 80% signal and about 20% noise. So it didn't matter time of day. He would call and say, we have to do this, and nobody could argue with him, because this was the signal, and he was a genius, and he actually got stuff done. But he was a real dick about it. So I'm trying a little bit of an experiment to that, to try to pay attention to the signal part of things, and maybe that can help me focus a little bit better when I'm reading signal. Forget about the noise. So a little bit of thought about that concept. So anyway, I am just kind of blah 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 now. Lots of noise. Oh. Yeah, maybe I'll find some signal in here. All right, sorry to blah 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 your ear off, but you know what it's like. And I hope you're reading lots of horror. Have a great day.